Your microphone. Oh, I'm not seeing you here.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
seeing me?
Yes, seeing and hearing.
Okay. When I was listening to you just now, as your introductory comments, you just talked about another murder in beautiful Trinidad and
I
Tobago. So
tell you.
that, yeah, it's a sad thing. I understand, between Friday and Monday, there were
Yes.
14 murders. One of them was a child, a 3-year-old.
Yes. Yes. Well, that tally went up to 17.
This is, I mean, it is, yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah, it is unbelievable. Those words, they don't even have words in the English in English language that I
Yes.
can think of that really could capture what is happening in this country.
It's so,
And
so very sad.
it seems as though those who are charged with responsibility, whether it is the Minister of National Security, the government's job really is also to ensure that these citizens feel safe. That's why when you bring up criminal action, is brought again by the state, because
Yeah.
it's all of us suffer. When I now started doing law, Richard isn't with us yet,
Hmm.
but when we started doing law, we learned the major difference between criminal law and a major difference between criminal law and civil law.
Yeah.
And one of them was, that stayed with me from year one, was that when a crime is committed, it may not be committed against you, but it affects your sense of security, your sense of safety, and so on. So it is really a crime committed against all of us.
Yes.
And that is the really a major difference. And we're seeing it every day. People will tell you they won't go out of their home after 7.
Yeah.
And the government appears to be clueless as to how to deal with that. But if I could draw on an experience, I intended to say it here on this station yesterday, and it's nothing of that magnitude clearly, but it really speaks to the level of the degradation of our society.
Yeah.
And if we are not careful, it's going to come a point in time when we will not be able to turn the clock back,
I know.
because those that are at the forefront of it, unfortunately, have their own personal interests, and that will not change. And if you have a personal interest in power and money and all of that, then the persons who carry out the deeds, it will continue unabated.
That's right.
And I don't expect that attitude to change. So I want to share with your listeners and your viewers something. I cannot go into the detail that on it, because of obviously it's a matter of concern, but I'm going to raise it as carefully as I can. But what it says to me is that if I didn't believe before that this country needed change, I know this country needs change.
Yes.
And why do I say that? I was speaking with someone who was in part of my campaign and talking about getting support. And I made clear a particular position. And that particular position was, however, relayed to persons to whom it would have applied. The next thing I know, literally, on the same day that I've been told, is literally, matter of fact, the same, within minutes, he gets a call from the police station. They knew who was a potential person. The person doesn't reside in Trinidad, so they knew where his properties would have been. And they went in there and took everything and threw it around. I understand they did not steal anything. They did not take anything away, but they made sure that they sent a message.
Yeah.
And there were 2 messages. I mean, I experienced it myself now. I experienced it myself. People tell you these stories, but I experienced it myself. So there are 2 parts of that story. One, you can't do what you wanted to do, that person. And two, a message to me. Where has Trinidad and Tobago reached? I mean, I don't think people understand this, you know. I don't, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm sorry to sound like some sort of school mom or, you know, which I don't want to. I would like not to, because that is not my intention to do that. But I think sometimes I think we all do want things to go away, what we call the ostrich syndrome. I mean, I have been guilty of that in my own life. Sometimes you don't want to deal with something, so you pack it away in the back and hope it will go away. But it does not go away, you see. It stays there and it grows and grows. And the time when you decide that you need to look at it is grown so big that you can't control it. And by that time, it's too late. And you got the warning signals, you know, but you choose to, and that goes with all of us. Get the warning signals, but for whatever reason, it suits us to ignore it.
Yeah.
And it could be in a relationship. I always use a relationship, but that's the best one I could think of, because I think most people could relate to that. You know, you could be in a relationship and you see the warning signals, you know, but you're so determined to get married, and you're so determined, you're seeing all, whatever the signals may be, you're seeing them. Your friends may have told you, and then you fall out with your friends because they're jealous of you, they don't want you to be happy, and la-di-da, and all of that. So the usual story. And 3-4 years on down the line, they come crying to that same friend and say, you know, you were right, you know. But it wasn't, they didn't see the amber light flash, you know, they saw it. But all they wanted was that green light. And what they already was seeing was a red light.
Yeah.
And I feel very, very, very concerned for Trinidad and Tobago, because I think, you know, it's hard to make the effort. It's for some people. And I understand for a lot of people, they get so disillusioned. They say, you know, what difference will it make? But I can tell you this, if you don't do something now, you'll know what difference it will make.
I tell you.
You will know. And I am telling you what happened to me. You know, what happened to me. And I could not believe that. I said, my God, where have we reached in this country?
Yeah.
Where have we reached? And the reason I am exposing it is because I have a certain fear. Everybody told me when I was growing up. Up to today, somebody said to me, take care of yourself, be careful. Now, why is that always the message, to be careful? Where have we reached as a country that my going up in a political position, that people feel that my life could be at risk? So those of you who figure to put your head in the sand and pretend you don't understand and play you don't know what's going on, because a lot of people like to do that, eh? Oh, you think so? You really believe so? Oh God, I don't think that's true, man. I know the stories because I know a lot, you know. I don't think that is true, man. And they find all the ways to ignore what is in front of them.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't suit their purpose. And they won't say that because it means that it doesn't speak well of their character. And nobody wants to look, you know, have their character look bad. But the reality is, you are seeing for yourself. You are seeing it for yourself. Don't pretend you're not seeing it. You are seeing it. And you are ignoring it. You think it's going to go away by magic? You think a magic wand is going to run and it's going to go away? We all have to take responsibility for our country.
Exactly.
And you're seeing it. You're seeing it. It's not hidden. Yes, there are those who can go to $1,200 and take a lot of pleasure, and you know, we become so materialistic in a way, and so much wanting to show the car we could drive, the house we could live in, the parties we could throw, and it's all of that becomes important to people, which I'm not saying is not good. Everybody likes a nice home. I like a nice home. I like a nice car. I like that, but I don't like it more than I like my country. And I don't like it at a price that I know is the wrong price.
I know.
And I think a lot of people, whether they want to admit it, I'm not, I'm just talking how I know many of you may not like to hear me say it. But I think a lot of you may know that we are in trouble. And if it continues like that, I mean, a lot of times people say those things, but I already think this time in trouble. 17 murders in one weekend, and the little children. You can't say the little child was involved in anything. Not the little child.
No.
Not the little child. Yeah. Because they're spraying it, and they're becoming more and more emboldened. Where are they getting the guns from? What is fueling all of this?
Yeah.
You're pretending you do not know. And we are going to pay a price. We are going to pay the ultimate price for what is going on. And for me to experience what I experienced, Richard, I don't know if you heard what I had said, but for me to have experienced what I experienced recently, that was a message to me. And I took the message very seriously. And the reason I'm coming out and saying it, because I don't want anybody to have any question if anything should happen to me. And for me to say that, for me to have to say something that you question where this country is.
I tell you.
You question how you want to hold that there is holding on why? Because you don't want you don't want people to see what is hidden behind. You don't want things to come out. It's not you they care about, It's just to keep you quiet as long as they can. And so that was my experience.
Yeah.
And it was, I wouldn't say it was traumatizing, because that wouldn't be traumatizing. It's sort of like said, my God, where have we gone in this country? And okay, if you don't want to listen, you don't have to listen. Where are we going? Yeah, you pretend it's going to turn around for itself. Some magic moment's going to happen, and everybody's going to say, let's go kumbaya and go to church and forget that. You believe that? You believe that's going to happen?
But I told us that.
Yeah? But pigs fly too, right?
Yeah. But I told reads at 495, and that's if it's still there.
And their children, this is what is. You see what is disturbing me among that murder rate too, is that sometimes everybody say their son is a good boy. There are few that will come out and say he gave trouble as my child, but he was a pest. I talked to him, he wouldn't listen. Some of them will be honest and tell you that. And it's hurtful for them to do that too, because they love their child. But they know that they love their child. It is their child. You can't tell them not to love their child. It is their child, right? And they know that the child, they tried, and the pull of the streets was more than you could control. But they admit it. But then there are so many of them say, he's a good boy. What's the definition of a good boy? A definition of a good boy may be he works nowhere at all, but say, moms, hold that and give you $1,000. Moms hold that. Hey, moms, look, you like this gold chain? And me put it on for you. Mom's not asking any question. But then, we condemn them, but where are they getting it from? Because we focus on them. But
yeah.
I'm talking to any car again, Richard.
Yeah.
Richard, I'm talking to any car again.
Maybe if you're talking to me. No,
what you saying with your first self? At least I'm talking to you.
You're talking to me on Zoom.
David, you hear what you tell me? In other words, I lucky I come home this morning. I was staying on for the weekend, but you're lucky I come home Saturday.
Oh boy. Welcome, Richard.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, let me say congratulations to Miss Tesheira on her victory flowing from the Privy Council.
Yes.
Yeah, uh, yeah. So may the Lord continue to bless you, and I hope that is a sign for more victories to come in the future.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to commend you and for going through what you went through and coming out successfully. If it was up to me, I think they should pay a lot more when you read the case. But I hope they add interest onto that, Mr. Sheriff. They have to,
Yeah,
right?
they do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You see who I
This
have
was
here?
him.
Who's
This
that?
was the guy here. Your husband,
Yeah, that's my
Mr.
husband.
Tesheira.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the
Oh,
Tesheira.
he was a
And
very bright man, and he was very lucky to have wedded
look,
such a
and look
beautiful
what he liked
lady.
to do too much. Look what he
What?
liked to do too much.
What is that?
Play Steve
Pan?
on.
Steve,
Yeah,
God,
yeah, I
man.
see.
I was a widow when Pan. I was like a widow. When Pan season
Daddy
start.
Mac,
Yeah.
Mac, explain a past, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Very true.
Oh, cause gonna
Yeah.
tell you, I think he's the one who's saying, it's better to get married to a horse.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going through the book. I want
Well,
to see another
Karen, if
one
he
with
was
him.
still around, explain that to ask him to write over that song.
Yeah.
So they could
And
have
look at
put
the
it in
look
was
at
better
us
you had to.
getting married.
Oh.
Okay, don't tell me how young I was looking because I won't get vexed, eh? Right.
Karen,
So I didn't ask it.
again.
I did not.
And I
Yeah,
see
but
the
it's
picture
not for
again,
you
Karen.
to comment on how I was looking young then, eh? Right. Okay. Right.
Oh,
Yes.
Karen.
But he was looking happy, right? That's the important thing.
Oh,
Actually, I'm looking for pictures of him. Oh, this is him. This is a good picture of him with his steel band. This was the cause of a lot of this, a lot of our arguments. I have to say, it was. Oh God, one time, he fooled me up one time. He fooled me up one time when Posata Steel Orchestra. It was like it was a family band, eh?
Yeah.
He had it like a family field foundation. We used to distribute food and stuff to the children. And then you used to have a birthday, and then you used to have a Christmas party for them. But he really made it into children's steel band, eh? But what he really was known for is this. And he liked to play with the the Hot Boys theme.
Yeah.
Right, the football. So he was sorely missed. But I want to say, since I know that on this station, I have more liberty to express my views on things than I probably would have otherwise. Partly time, but also because Richard is very, what should I say? Richard, something, I'm trying to give you a compliment and you're doing something.
I want to see it better, Karen. I'm adjusting it.
Well, you're sounding like the wolf in Red Riding Hood,
Oh, that wolf song did it.
Puffing and puffing.
No. It's what the wolf said. Come a little closer. Why, grand, and then the ears. Grand, why your ears okay? Better to hear you with, my dear. I say it all the time to my grandchildren, so I know the story back and forth. All right? And part of it is, yeah, grand, oh, your eyes are looking like that. Better to see you with, my dear. You know that story?
Well, Karen, you are a fantastic. Those are grandchildren, you said?
You need to get your ears too, Your ears you're going to examine your ears too, That's your son there.
Yeah, that's your son there. Put your face there briefly and say hello. Put your face
I know. I give your daddy a hard time. Because I give huh?
I don't give him a hard time.
You don't. I give him when I come on the show. But all in good fun. All in good fun.
Yes.
All in good fun. Yes.
My son, you just spoke to the former one of the best finance ministers this country has ever had. And
Yes.
you may have just spoken potentially to the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So be blessed and feel good about that today. That is Karen Nunez Tesheira, one of the brightest ladies in the country. I know it mute, so she's not hearing, but just letting you know who you're talking. Daddy Mac, you all hearing, man? Oh, it was.
Poor son, your poor son.
I
Trapped in
had
that car.
I had to really review my skills with this type of technology, and thank goodness.
That's your glasses.
You
Let me
know?
see you with the glasses on.
No, this my driving glasses, Karen. I'm about to move.
No, but they're nice though.
Well,
They're not
all
bad.
my vehicles, I have a different glasses in each one, so you'll never
Okay,
find
now
me
you
going
know
to
where you
vehicle
feel
and
you
I
get
put.
them from? Walmart. Don't feel shame.
No,
I
no,
do the
no. These
same
are
thing.
tested glasses
Is
for
that okay?
driving,
Okay,
Karen,
okay.
but all different. I think in this van I have the worst one here because normally it's up here and the heat kind of damaging it, so I have to change it. But when I drive in one of the Mercedes Benz or
Yeah, I understand.
the Range Rover or one of those
Yeah, I
vehicles,
understand.
they have better air quality. So
You go
I
ahead and
must.
keep saying that. Since 17 people died over the weekend,
No,
looking for
you
them to
didn't let
come
me
and look for
finish,
you.
Karen. Whenever I get those cars borrowed.
Oh.
No, they know I'm a very poor man, Karen. They know I'm a very poor man.
You better backtrack
You're
one
crazy.
time.
No,
You
they
better
know those are
backtrack
borrowed
one time.
vehicles, Karen. I had to get taxes off of vehicles first before I could buy that type of vehicle. What? You crazy? Not me. Not me. No, this is a Chevrolet vehicle, and this one is my mother's own. I borrow it from
Okay.
time to time. Yeah.
Okay.
Let them know,
You
you
don't have
know.
to. You don't have to worry anymore. You have no interest
No.
anymore.
Me, I go buy a vehicle in this country, things out of control. But when I sleep in, they come to the owner come for it, and they come in with guns.
It's
In this
serious though, huh?
country, no, this country, the governance in this country is one where the policy seems to be to depopularize this country. And they have released people, it seems like, in this country to reduce the population size. 17 murders. I heard Daddy Mac say 495. I think that is what in the papers, Daddy Mac.
This morning, on the news, I heard 495.
Right, and I think one or two.
I think
more
over the
since
weekend was
then.
487, and it grew.
Right, so now it could be 497.
It could be very close to 500 too.
Yeah.
What do you
Don't
think
be
is
surprised by
causing
the time
the
you're drinking coffee,
level
7
of
o'clock.
crime?
I mean, things out of control.
But
And you know,
what is your
you will
theory
be
on it
seeing
though?
this thing happening here, Karen. And the people who run in this country still believe they're the best people in this country to do so. I mean,
But they
Liz
don't
Truss
believe
came
so.
in.
They have to. No, they don't believe so, but they have to tell us that. But what do you think is what do you think is the reason for this? I mean, it's like out of control, and it's a board with
Karen,
little children. What do you think
a
is
big part
really
is poverty because
Yeah.
people go to the gangs because of poverty. They feel like they're in a family in the gangs. They live a kind of life in there. They cook for all of them. They lime together. They buy clothes together. So they feel this kind of criminal enterprise, they could survive in it. So poverty has a lot to do with it. If the country was distributing the wealth that this country has more equally or evenly, so many people would not have been available to be recruited in such gangs. You notice the gangs are getting smaller, they're getting bigger. And they're getting bigger because when they stay home, they're suffering, they have nothing to do, they have nothing to eat. Some have qualifications and cannot get work, but they have to live, right? So how they would live? And then they're hearing about they have to make the rich get richer and something will trickle down. Nothing has ever trickled down from the rich before, and that's what they're hearing coming from the head of the government. So people now frustrated, and then gas price going up. So when they make a few dollars, whether they drive a taxi, they pull bull, or they do some kind of job to pull a little extra cash or pull some cash, they are being told now all that cash you pull, all you might be able to do is get a pack of rice and a bottle of oil, you know. You ain't work hard enough to buy a piece of meat and get a pound of fig. You understand? So people now in this country, they have been reduced to almost nothing, Karen. So what you would find happening now is that any work. You can now get one man to build a whole house for you. That is where it heading to, you know, for about
So let me
$500.
ask you something. I want
Yeah.
to go back to my case because it's important that I make some points on that. And I made up my mind for the 17 years that I had to stay silent because it was sub judice. Now that I have been released from that. But let me ask you something too, because this I mean, I think I kind of believe I have the answer, but I want to hear what you would think. You talking about how many people are suffering from poverty and how poverty is so widespread and so on. But when the CSO has released figures on unemployment, it's around 5%. Now, in a lot of economic areas, you will know 5% is considered full employment because one thing, there are some people who will not, cannot work. So if they're saying the unemployment rate is 5%, then what I'm asking really more your view, then why is the poverty so widespread?
Karen, you saw when the Royal Caribbean, I think it is, came here for 2 or 3 days. You saw the amount of people turn out for jobs, Karen?
Yeah.
The other day, a badge pulling somewhere down in
Bright
Daddy Mac. Right. And what happened? People didn't come out for work, Daddy Mac.
Of course, they thought that it was an opportunity to get work, but the badge was
The other day, a truck got a flat. Right. The other day, a truck got a flat tire in Santa Cruz. About 900 people came out to get a job to change the tire. Right. The other day in Carenage, and a colleague had the radiator, something, it was overheating, and he pulled the bonnet. And about, I couldn't even put the number, but one set of people come, all of them mechanics. They can fix it now. What that tells you happening in the country?
Okay,
what that tells you, so it could never be 5%. Those figures, in my opinion, those figures are being doctored to come across in a certain way.
Okay, I will tell you what. All what you said, I know that you are right. I know you're right that it can't be that. But let me just look at it from there. How statistics, this and damn statistics, they say. In other words, people can use statistical data and manipulate it. And what I think is the first thing is the definition of unemployment. That's the first starting point. Because the definition of unemployment will then tell you who they will consider to be unemployed. And I think it is someone who has been actively searching for employment within the last 3 months and has not received it. 3 months now is no time. So there are so many people who are searching 4 months, but they would not be considered unemployed because they don't come with any definition. Or who have been searching, 2 months or 2.5 months, and they wouldn't come with any definition. And then what is actively searching? Well, I went out. So in other words, you can manipulate that data. The other way you can manipulate that also is there is a big difference between employed and underemployed. And many, 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 many people are underemployed because, one, the jobs they are given are not 5 days a week. The jobs that they have are not 8 hours a day or whatever it is with a lunch break. So there are many people who do not get in a month's work, but yet they qualify as being employed. CPEP workers are defined as employed. URP workers are defined as employed. So what is a better definition? Because employed is very misleading. What you want to do is define what is a living wage. And when you define what is a living wage, which is a basket of goods that you must have, and you define that, then you can say whether a person is underemployed or whether that person is employed. So they need to make a distinction between the two because it's very, very misleading. The other thing too is you talked about transport and fuel. Is also the cost of food because it's year-on-year increase. So yes, it increased 7% from last year, but from the year before it increased 8%, and from the year before it increased 10%. So you could use an example of diesel. Diesel, because I looked at it, diesel, I think in 2015 or 2016, I don't want to get it wrong, was $1.91. Today it's $4.49. He only added 50 cents this year. But he added 50 cents this year, but last year they added, and they added every year incrementally they add. So at the end of the day, when you are paying one something for the diesel, which was the cheapest fuel, 5-6 years ago, you are now paying 3 and 4 times that. And so it's the same thing with food. When you look at food, they're telling you a 7% increase, but a 7% increase year on year, meaning from last year, it increased 8%, and the year before that it increased 7%, and then it depends on the food you're talking about. I guess we can't talk about macaroni and ham because we are not supposed to eat that macaroni and ham. But the things that are very expensive are children's milk, cheese, oil, and the prices. You could say you average out things. You know, another thing that is very very misleading when people want to argue a point is to give you an average. Well, they could take 100 items. Of those 100 items, maybe 40 items, nobody buys it. You know, it just stays there. Nobody buys it. It's not something that people would spend their money on, especially if it's tin food and you have a big family to feed. You'd buy it in the pack and you would boil it or pressure cook it. But I'm talking about even other things that I can't even think of that they will have and put the average cost, and they'll put that in the bundle. But then the things that you really need to buy, which is the bread, the cheese, the eggs, the milk, the things that you really, the chicken, the ground provision, these things that you really need to buy, their prices have gone skyrocketing. But what you do now, you put it into the bundle of the things that nobody's buying, in which the prices haven't gone up because probably nobody's buying it either. And then you average it out. And that again is very misleading because it then says on average, food prices have increased 6%. When in fact, if you took out from the food, what the man in the street to feed and have a nutritious and not no fancy food, but to have a balanced meal, not to be fancy, a balanced meal of whatever, vitamins, protein, or whatever, cassava, whatever it is that makes a balanced meal. You don't have to eat meat every day. You could have lentils or whatever. When you get that balanced meal for a week, you will find that that balanced week, that the price of providing that meal is not the 10% they're telling you, it's more like the 40%. And then if you have children, you have to give children, their brains are growing, and children have to drink milk. They have to have certain vitamins and fruits in order to develop healthy brains. And when you add that to the equation, and you have 1 or 2 children, and you are the mother, and you're doing your groceries, you would then, don't compare just last year, go back 3 years, which is not an unreasonable amount. Go back 3 years. And if you look at what you paid for those sodium items and what you're paying for today, it's not 8 or 9%. It's more in the region about 35-40%. And of that, maybe there are things you should not include, like grapes and apples, which I wish they would stop selling. I mean, I don't see them, maybe I do see mangoes, but I don't see all these fancy, I don't see a set of Caribbean fruits in a lot of supermarkets in the States. But they could do it because they can afford it. But what I'm saying is that we need to be more mindful of what we put out there for people to buy. And it's very, coming back to the point I was making, is that that unemployment figure is very misleading. And they need to let us know what is the underemployment, what is a living wage, and what a family of 3 or 4 need just in food and transport and rent to make it for a month. And then you're talking, you will determine the poverty in this country. Because if you can't send your child to school because you don't have money to give them transport to go to school, or if you can't give your child 1 egg and a slice of bread in the morning because you don't have any of that for them to eat. If you can't do all those things, it means that you are not your salary is not a living wage salary. And it means that you are living in poverty. Whether or not you tell me that I am employed. You tell me I'm employed, but I'm living in deep, deep poverty. Mr. Noray?
Yeah, no. And in deep poverty, and that's the reality.
Yeah, he's breaking up. Daddy Mark?
And to add to that,
yes,
I think nothing has done to facilitate the young people, even though they're not academic. I don't think much was done to get them into vocational work and to help them, do something that is of value than just the CPEP thing and the URP thing, because I don't see that working out at all. Because I deal with a young lady and her son, and she works CPEP, and I don't know how she makes out in sending them to school. It's always a burden. Sometimes she'll keep him at home because she doesn't have the money to go to pick him up after school. That bothers me a lot, and I see that happening on a wide scale. It's not she alone. I'm seeing that happening too. For instance, my little boy, and
that is opening up the boy to be
she just has one son, and there are people who have families. I see them. I live close to them. My heart bleeds for them, and they just like live today for today, every day. They look for $1 every day to eat. If they don't get that $1, well, trust me, that day there will be nothing to eat. And of late, there have been numerous house breakings. Some of the small businesses, little parlors and things, the owners have to break because these young people, they roam in the night and they scoop up and see what they can do, and they come back in the night. Within my area there, two of my good friends who run small businesses, parlor and one sell feed and thing, and the people broke into their place. They broke into the Chinese grocery on Saturday. So the desperation is increasing. And that frustration lead the young people, they're not going to school. A lot of them are not going to school. And I've observed that since the 2 years stay home with the pandemic and stuff. Then they didn't go back to school. Their parents can't afford to send them back to school. Some of them have gotten so involved with what's going on out there that the parents can't send them back to school. They are like ruling the parents now because there's nothing home. They will blow out the parents, as the young people would say. If they say, well, why I go to school? Give me money to go to school now, or give me something, that kind of thing. I hear that all the time, and I wonder, where are we going? No facilitation. Since this new regime took over, I think it's in 2010 to now, we've been hearing about all kind of things for library and environs, and nothing has came to fruition. So the people are getting very desperate, but they are so into their party, I must say that, because they'll be going through that. And the moment you mention anything political, one guy was saying, what we gonna do? Who we gonna put? And I find that was very disturbing, because I know Trinidad has a lot of academic people. Look at the private sector. They do well all the time. And the people who work at the private sector at that level, they are well off. CEOs and things, they are well off. When you look at the non-facilitation for young people, there are lots of things you can construct or put up or set up or whatever that will grab their attention, and they will say, they're looking for a job. One of the guys who talk with me in a serious level where the library is concerned and the environs, and because library is a wide place, and we were saying, why the young guys don't go and look to get their trucker's license or their crane license and thing. But even to get that, it's costly and way out of their league. They don't know where they're coming from when the day comes. most of them, and that hurts me because I know what's going on. I keep updated with news and all of that. I used to be working in the oil. I told you I work at the lab, I work at the refinery, I was an oil stocks clerk. So I understand the ramifications of the operations of a refinery and the energy sector where hydrocarbons are concerned. And I mean, there are countries that don't have any at all. And they make some kind of provision for young people to be engaged in some sort of self propping up or self building kind of, activity when there's nothing. And this regime took away a lot. They took away from the NECS, they took away from UTT, they just readjusted gate. I mean, when all of this is happening, and even when the youths are strong-minded and go through the academic or the vocational functions that will take them forward, when they're done with that, there's nothing to offer. Nothing has been put in place, or nothing was constructed or set up for them to come into.
That is very true. And I don't know if we mentioned it the last time we were on, but I think I may have mentioned it. Griffith is his name, on the MP on the UNC side. But he asked, no, it wasn't he, it was not he.
Is it
was that guy? And the guy who was a trade unionist. Anyway, he asked the Minister of Works, who now the Lake Asphalt no longer falls under energy.
Was that in Dowsing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Correct. And now Lake Asphalt falls under Works, no longer energy.
Yeah.
And I think I said it on this show that it appears they have not paid NIS in years. And then they have not paid the pension, because when they asked the minister about the NIS payments and asked the minister about the pension, he skirted around the issue, did not answer, or he said something, we will be dealing with that. With the clear opinion I got was they have not been doing it. So they're breaking their own laws. And I feel that's part of the reason you're not getting audited accounts. Is about 6-7 years they have not given audited accounts for Lake Asphalt. So when the government wants to put blame on people, they have to take a lot of responsibility for the state of play.
Of course.
Because a lot of people want to work. A lot of people want to come home and say, I worked and I did this and I was contributing to my home. They want that. Not everybody, but most of them want to.
Yeah.
And, you just depriving them of that. And it's like you're really living in another world with wealth. And it's just, and I mean, I don't know if they don't know. I don't know if they don't see how it looks. I don't know if they're blinded by it. I don't know if they're in a little cocoon and they just sort of insulate themselves from it.
Yeah.
But it is very worrying. And as I said to you, that somebody could do what they did because of my response makes me very frightened. I don't want to leave my home. I don't even, that's the truth. You imagine that? Let them say I talk in stupidness. They say how Kamala say when she says she got death threat was a lie. I not talking stupidness. Right? I talking true. I don't think I ever came and ever said anything that wasn't true. And at least knowing me. And I'm telling you, it happened. And it has me frightened enough, which is the intention. Yeah. And this is where this country has gone to. This is where this country has gone to. This is where we've gone to. But Richard, I find you keeping very quiet. I wanted to talk about my husband's matter, because there are some things that I was not able to speak about because the matter was sub judice, which meant that I was not able to say anything for all those years.
That was a long
well,
time.
Karen, on this show, Karen, as you know, you could decide what is the next issue we're going to discuss. I'll just follow along. What you wanted to raise that is no longer sub judice.
Well, my what is no longer sub judice is my matter, because the Privy Council has ruled. and they're ruled in my favor. So that's the end. There's nowhere else for them to go. And on the 8 points, of, I don't want to go too legalistic, so because that's not what I really want to speak about. But on the 8 points of appeal, every single one of them was dismissed. Every single one. They didn't even win on any of them. Not one. Not one. Right? And what are the things that I want to say that I think the nation needs to know? You know, if I, as a lawyer, and at one time when my matter was going on, I was the Minister of Finance. And I am not poverty stricken, and I'm a member of the legal profession, and many of the people, most people who were involved in my matter, either were colleagues with me at law school. Most of them were. If I could find myself in the position I found myself, what do you leave for the ordinary man who has been injured and hurt and life turned upside down and have no recourse because they simply, everything is stacked against them? So why do I say that? When I had started this journey in 2005, in 2005, my husband died in 2004. And we started the initial, but filing is in 2005. I'm going to give you examples of what the toll, because it will take it to and tells you what you're dealing with in this country. As a matter of fact, before I say that, when a matter, this is what I found out, that when the Privy Council decides on a matter, there is an embargo period in which the lawyers are required not to discuss the matter at all, or to tell even their client until they give them however many hours pass, however, then they can reveal it. Someone who is well known and I like very much, on Friday or Thursday said, congratulations, Karen, you won the case. I said, what? What are you talking about? Run on the Privy Council site. I not seen my case. So I said, rang one of my lawyers. And my lawyer then explained to me about the embargo and said they cannot say anything to me. Now look at the difference. Somebody spoke and it wasn't my lawyers. Somebody spoke and it wasn't my lawyers. So that's just to tell you. That's just to tell you that if somebody could send me a WhatsApp, congratulate, when I didn't know what they were talking about, they said nothing more. Right? Okay, so, and the person was from, anyway, I won't give any more details except that it clearly came from the other side, because my lawyers absolutely kept to the rules, because they told me, do you know that if you break the embargo, you can be held in contempt of court? But that didn't stop them, did it? So let me tell you the things that I couldn't say that now I can say, and I have wanted to see. When you bring, and I hope this will help other people. And I intend to, I had always said, there was another lawyer, I said, you know, when my matter is finished, it would make my husband's death mean something. One, well, I was going to set up a foundation in his name anyhow. I already, you all may not know, but I do have a foundation called Reach for the Stars, and I've done a lot of work giving out with scholarships for people, partial scholarships to help them with school or with steel band, football, things that mean a lot to him. So never use it for political purposes. Never, never, never. And the people who administered it never took a cent. We have never taken a cent. Everything has been used to help people over the years. It's called Reach for the Stars, but I've kept it on the low because I'd hoped that my matter would have been finished in about 3 or 4 years, and then I would have launched his foundation. But I am going to do that anyhow because he deserves it. He deserves it, and he needs to be honored that way. But coming back to my point is this. I mean, it's just how terrible this country is and how terrible people are. If you bring a medical negligence case, anybody listening to me, you have to have experts, medical experts, and you can't have a medical expert that the courts do not respect. So you usually need a medical expert that has what you'll call gravitas, has a reputation, and respected by their colleagues, written articles, have done a lot of maybe a lot of scholarly work. In other words, when they show you their CV, it's about 4 or 5 pages long, and they are very impressive. So in my case, I decided that I would ask, and maybe I won't call her name, because I could call it, because I have her opinion in my house with the date and her signature. So and I've always kept it, and I checked it yesterday to make sure it's right where I left it. But she's dead now, so you can kind of sort of guess. And was in hematology. And I gave all the documents, and I said, well, through another person who knew a brother of mine, who they did medicine together. And I said, I want you, if you do a legal, an expert opinion on it. She did it. And at the end of it, she said that on a balance of public, etc., based on the evidence, that she was satisfied that there was negligence. So now I came with my lawyers to come to see her before my lawyers came to see her, for them to talk to her. She ran a little lab, and I never forget it. She faced me face to face and said, "Madam, I have to put food in my mouth." So she withdrew from doing my case, because somebody got to her, because I wasn't talking about it. I didn't want people to know. I didn't want the other side to know. But somebody let them know, and she withdrew. But when she withdrew, it's all there for the proof. I have the proof. When she withdrew, at least she did one good thing. She gave me a list of doctors in both specialties that maybe I could go and approach them and see if they would do it. One of them I knew of, and one I never heard of, but apparently they're highly respected. The advice I got was, do not do it, just let them do it. Let them do it jointly with someone outside the country. You understand what I just said to you? You understand what I just said to you? So the one who did it in hematology got their colleague in Jamaica, Jamaica, to do it jointly with them. The one in anesthesiology got a colleague, a professor in Barbados, to do it jointly with them. So the point was that you go in Jamaica, you go in Barbados, that's where I had to reach. And I have the proof. You'll see that they are joint legal opinions. Why am I spending all that money? Because I had to pay both. I had to pay all 4. Why would I have done that? That is what so when people, you have no idea. You have no idea. And another thing I will tell people is, as soon as you can get it, get your notes. As soon as you can get it, the person who's entitled to get the notes of either the person who is deceased or ill, very ill, get their notes right away. Why do I say that? Again, I'm sharing things that I had to keep quiet. There's another one I'm going to mention, because I had to keep it quiet for 17 years, and I never broke it. I never broke it. What I would say to them is, get a news. And why would I say that? Because when I was in the middle of, I was just traumatized by my husband's death, I rang one of my brothers, who's a doctor and living abroad. And after conversation, he said, "Karen, did you get your husband's medical notes?" I said, "Are you crazy? I mean, I'm not going down there. Going to drive down there. I even left the car down there. I can't make it. I just went through trauma. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that." He said, "Karen, you ever heard of doctoring notes?" Well, that woke me up one time. So I said, okay, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's a doctor in his states, he understands, right? So the Thursday, my husband died Tuesday night, the Thursday morning. Oh, Peter, I'm not going to call the person's name because it's not be fair to them, since they didn't know I was going to see this. But it's someone who I called him and said, "I want you to meet me at this place because I want to get my husband's notes." And I know they would never expect me to come. Remember, because in 2004, I was just a lecturer at law school. Nobody knew me. I was Mr. Tesheira's wife. I wasn't in politics, nothing. Anyway, they led me a song and dance. They said he wasn't there. The doctor wasn't there. He was in St. Augustine. When we went to St. Augustine, he's not there. Then they say operating in the theater. When we go to the theater locked up. They say no, he doesn't operate on that day. Song and dance, and telling me, oh, they didn't have chance to get their notes together. I said, person dies on a operating bed and you didn't get chance to put together your notes. I said, anyhow, I'll tell you what I said. I stood up right in the corridor, and remember, nobody knew me. I was nobody. I was Mr. Tesheira's wife. I said, let me tell you something. I'm not even here, you know. If you do not give me my husband notes, and I went around with my sisters, who are all very qualified, to take notes, because the next thing they say, I didn't know what I was saying. The lawyer and me always was aware. So I had them and said, you're taking notes, time and everything. Make sure we take notes. So I said, if you do not give me my husband's medical notes, I promise you that on Monday at his funeral, I am going to say, when all the media is there, and all the CLF people are there, that the hospital refused to give me my husband's notes, and I do not know why. And I said, you want that to be on the front page the next day? You don't give me my husband's notes, and that will be the front page. All of a sudden, miraculously, I got the notes. And it's those notes that they could not touch. It is those notes that was intact, that everything was there, so that no opportunity, if there was any intention, I can't say that they had any intention, I don't know, but certainly I didn't leave any opportunity for anything to go missing out of that file. And that helped a lot in my case, because when it came to the evidence, we had all the nurses' notes, we had all the doctors' notes, we had the time when they did this, we had the time when they did that, we knew when they did this, we knew when they did that, and it was their notes. And so that helped me a lot, because my brother gave me good advice to go and get my notes. I'm glad I did. I don't know if they would have done anything, but I'm still glad I did, because it certainly helped in my case. So that's the two things I will tell people. The third thing I will say, actually there are four things. The third thing I will mention, so how apparently they tried to interfere with my expert witnesses, and look at what I had to end up spending money on 4 witnesses instead of 2. How I had to threaten, as far as I'm concerned, to get them to release my notes, because I told them that that's what I was going to do. And since Russell was well known, I don't think they wanted that to happen. But a third thing that I also discovered, which I think needs to be ventilated, is that it's 2 things. One, in the United States and in England, as far as I'm aware, both countries, I know for sure in the United States, you cannot hold yourself out as board certified, because you know there's a big difference between being board certified or not, which means you have reached whatever the qualifications are to hold yourself as a specialist in an in a particular field. I don't know what it is, but you have to reach those requirements, then you can be listed as board certified. So if you go on a membership for doctors, you will see those who are board certified in their specialty, and therefore you know they are really specialists. In Trinidad and Tobago, or at least when my matter was heard, and for the years following, I don't know if they have changed. So forgive me if they have changed, and my apologies if I'm wrong. But there's no separate classification, first of all, stating what are the requirements for someone to hold themselves out as a specialist in Trinidad and Tobago. First. Second, have you met those qualifications? And then third, then if you do, then in the whatever of doctors, the registration of doctors, there should be a separate one for whatever they want to call it, board certified, and then you to explain what board certified means, so people will know, because it's their life you're dealing with. This is not, you're not going shopping for a pair of shoes, you're not going shopping for a car. This is something with your life, and you have a right to know, to choose persons quite apart from your own confidence in a doctor to know that this person who is operating on you has the board certification, has the qualifications to hold himself out to the public as a specialist, as is required in England and in the United States. I'm not sure that they require that. The fourth thing that I would mention is insurance. You cannot practice as a doctor in private practice in England without every year renewing your insurance. And that is because you are dealing with people's lives. And not all doctors are rich. That's why they have to have insurance. Everything goes wrong, the insurance is to cover it. And I'm not sure, let me just put it that way, that I didn't see it. Any legal requirement is a good thing to do, but no legal requirement that doctors in private practice, not ones working in a public hospital, because they're covered by the hospital and the hospital will be liable under the principle of vicarious liability, etc. And non-delegable duty. They can't delegate their duty to another person. They will always be responsible, right? And that's how public hospitals operate. But in private hospitals, if you're a private doctor operating as a private doctor in wherever, you cannot practice without renewing your insurance, because if anything goes wrong, you have to be able to compensate. I'm not sure that that is a requirement, nor the hospitals. And imagine you could have a private hospital where you're dealing with people who could be dying, because that's why people go to the hospital a lot of times, right? Because something's wrong. And you lose people losing blood and all kinds of complications that arise. And if something goes wrong, you don't have to, as I feel will be my challenge, to be able to get my judgment, right? And that's why they have insurance, so that something goes wrong. They have in England, a lot of doctors here are insured with the English, there's something they call it, and there's a representative in Trinidad, and they have a board of doctors who will look at the case, and depending on the case, they might say, well, let's settle the matter, and they offer a settlement, and that goes away. So we have to look at whether the doctors are insured. Private doctors are insured, private hospitals are required to be insured, because you cannot put a car on the road. You cannot or you're not supposed to put a car on the road, an old car on the road, without at least third-party insurance. Because if you want to damage yourself and thing, that's one thing. But your car is like a weapon, and that weapon could kill somebody. And that person must be able to get compensation if they lose the ability to work, if they lose the ability to walk, and so on. They must have some compensation, and that is what insurance is there for. So the points I have made that I would like people to bear in mind, and I hope there has been a change. Other things I could mention, and those are the main points. Your specialist doctor, maybe you have to go to another Caribbean island and get them. You might be able to get the person here. Secondly, the reality is, I'm not sure if the doctors here are required by law to be insured if they're in private practice. Similarly, they may do it on their own, but if it is a requirement, as it is in UK and the States, and similarly for the hospitals, they may do it, but is it a legal requirement to get your license to open and continue to operate a hospital? And the fourth point is, should you be allowed to hold yourself out as a specialist in any field unless you meet the requirements of what is required to be a specialist, and not because you're misleading the public into believing that person is a specialist, when if you were to apply the factors that would be applied to someone like in America or the United States or UK, you probably are very good, coming close to being, but are not. And therefore, I probably wouldn't choose you.
Boy, oh boy. 17 years.
Well, you had a lot of patience, Karen, and that's what was required to get this victory. Early on today, when they spoke about the Central Statistical Unit, I spoke about I don't believe them. Why? Because in this country people doctor things, and I'm not saying that I know that happens there, but it's the same thing your brother was trying to tell you. People change
He didn't
things
know
to
her, but
suit
he
them.
just wanted
No,
to be
he didn't
careful.
know. But you have to ask yourself how he came to know that was possible. Because being in the system, surely he would have seen what others did before to escape liability.
Yeah.
They changed things. And he was saying to you as his sister, he didn't know that happened to you. He didn't know it was going to happen, but he knew that the probability was reasonably high. So he said, get your papers now, because it will take them
Some
some
go
time to
missing. Papers go missing out in the file.
yeah, all of that, yeah. Or something changed. One gone missing and the next one replace it. Right? And come on. So before that happened, they don't know you're going to take legal action, get the paper, get the documents, get your notes. You understand what I'm saying? To get a clearer reflection of what actually transpired. And that helped you out in this case. So I think your brother gave you, as you said, solid advice. And that was really good. The another thing is, you couldn't look like this lady who told you, in other words, she had to eat her food at the very beginning. And what you shared with her, you said that daddy back?
Yeah.
She had to put food in her mouth.
Madam, I have to put food in my mouth.
So I'm
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Karen, how long ago that was?
That had to be about 18 years ago, but I never forgot it. Because I mean, the way it was put, a table, I'm sitting across the table from her, and she just said, Madam, I have to put food in my mouth.
So that's about 2004?
Or 2005 maybe. 2005 might be.
Okay.
2005 maybe. But I wouldn't want to swear on a Bible on that, but around then.
Okay. So look at that, Daddy Mac. You see how long people doing what they had to do, even if it came close to being wrong.
Yeah.
To eat a food.
Yeah.
To eat a food.
Yeah,
so
but be fair to her though. Can I know?
You see
I don't want you to say
news
anything against her.
You have people in this country who report
I don't want
news.
you to speak up.
No, that's what I'm talking about now.
No, but I want to protect. I want to. No, Richard. I have to say this. She could have just left it like that, but she gave me a list of doctors.
She gave you a list, yeah.
And that list, I was able to get the specialist.
Yeah.
So she did not just abandon me.
Karen, I'm not saying she did. I'm not listening to the lady. I'm looking at the principle that was utilized. Karen, I'm looking at the principle that was utilized.
Yeah.
What she said to you. What she said to you. And there's the truth from what you said. She said to you, in other words, the correct thing to do is to do what you're asking me to do, Mr. Tesheira. I cannot do that. Because if
How about looking at it this way? How about looking at it this way? Why don't you say, how could they put her in that position?
That's right.
Why don't not about what she said to me?
No, that is a very
that is the way to look at it. How they could put her in a position to say to her, apparently, that if she helped me, this is what they would destroy her business.
Yeah.
How about looking at the people who did that to her?
That's right.
Yeah.
How about looking at them?
They should not have placed her in such a position.
No, should not. You going? No. Let me just say, how you could go to her, whoever it is, and found out it was she, to basically tell her if she made a mistake, to give evidence in my favor that he ended her business. How you could do it? How could you sleep at night doing you did that?
Yeah. That would be very sad. That'd be very sad. But here's the point I want to make. It's not the woman. Okay. So let me tell you where I want to go first. Yeah, I know you're defending her. I picked that up. Listen, Karen, you got that across quite clearly, you know. If she listens.
She can't be listening. She listening in that one.
Yeah,
she
I see. He said she passed.
I'm not telling you she's not here with us.
Let me be clear, Because if she not given you the list that she gave you with other professionals, you might not have gotten in contact with those whom you actually got in contact with, who assisted you through this process, even if you had to hire them. Yeah. So she did the next best thing.
And let me tell you something, Richard. It was, listen, let me tell you something. I went to about 8 doctors before I reached to be able, because one telling they frightened, the other one in America. So I know the human body is the same, but the practice is different. So it mightn't hold water. Another one give you one, and it was not an easy thing, and understandably doctors say today is me, tomorrow is you.
Yeah.
But my point is, since 2005, because long after 2005, it became a bit popular where everybody started talking about how to eat a food. That's the point I want to get to. Right? So I am saying, while this lady, you can't say fell
in. Not bad talker.
No, Karen, I wouldn't do that, Karen. And if I wanted to, because you didn't want me to, I won't.
Thank you.
Yes. But this lady, I'm not talking about the lady, that principle. You see what some people do, not that woman, but from the time it comes, you see, she was saying she needed to eat her food to save her business. But she did the next best thing by setting her in the correct direction, the correct path. But there are people today, they would sell you out. They would lie on you, because it will give them some money, and they will put that behind the saying, well, I had to eat a food. Today, honesty, decency, just to eat a food, they throw away those things,
It's true.
Those values something,
Richard, and you know what? My problem with what you're saying is this, right? What happened? You're looking to see if you're parking or you're still driving? I see your son.
No, Karen, I'm trying to get to my computer so I could see you better.
But afraid not to know. When you say I can see you better, you might need the red riding. I know red riding. When
Karen, no. What happens?
Don't worry now, Richard.
No,
Richard, don't worry. I want to tell you the point. You go on and I know you're hearing me. I think you're looking at the problem from the wrong perspective, which is what they want you to do. Because because what they want you to see is the obvious consequences of something, the puppeteer in the back. So what you are seeing is, and therefore we tend to put our thing on, look at them, killing this one and killing that one and this one doing that one. And you put the spotlight on them. But the truth of the matter is, that is why they have the 7 deadly sins. The truth of the matter is that man is a sinful creature. The truth of the matter is, remember, well, I don't remember the Godfather, but everybody has a price, right? That's so they say, a carrot or a stick. That is reality. And the fact of the matter is that instead of putting the spotlight on the person who eat a food, by the way, the eat a food applies maybe a vulgar crass terminology, but the eat a food applies to the ones at the top because they're doing the same thing. They may not be eating macaroni, they might not be eating rice and peas.
Yeah.
And drinking punch and rum or whatever, but they're drinking Moet Chardon and they're eating the caviar and all the best, but they're doing the same thing, eat a food, right? But their eat a food is more acceptable to us because we become distracted by their way that they carry themselves, the way that they dress, the way that they speak, their education, and all of that. And we become distracted by that, not knowing that they're not, those are the ones you have to worry about.
Yeah.
Not the boys out there, because the boys out there or the girls out there are the ones who are being given the eater food, right? But the ones who really eating a food are sitting down quietly in the background with giving this a perception of perfect home life, perfect everything. And we fall into the trap. We fall into the trap and put the spotlight on them. I am not saying that they're not wrong, but I bet you $1 million, human nature is human nature. That is the reality. That's why whether it's the Gita, the Bible, whatever is your belief, which I respect everybody's belief, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the same thing. And Shubh Diwali to the Hindu community. I was yesterday. I had a fabulous time sharing the story of Rama and Sita. I got an education, and Rama taking his wife back from, I think you pronounce it Ravana, because they don't pronounce it W.
Yeah.
And from the city of Lanka, and taking her back home. And when he was coming on a moonless night, they didn't have fancy lights. They had little ordinary small clay pots with a little bit of ghee, little butter, and a little piece of cotton, lighting the way back home, right? So what I am trying to say, what they do to us and what we have to stop falling for is selling the narrative they want us to sell, so we start to believe it and taking the spotlight off of them. Because because if you turn these tables on them and you put them in the same circumstances that these young people are in, they will do the same thing. That is the nature of humanity. That is the nature of mankind. That is why the Bible, Shakespeare, all of these things remain relevant, because there's something that makes us the human, the good and the bad. And what I'm trying to tell you is this: the persons who are doing all these things, I'm not excusing them, because what they're doing is terrible. It's terrible. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: if you flip the script around, it will be the same thing. And what is worse yet, it's like me having a child in my home, who is neglected, whose mother not taking care of him, and I want the child to go and steal something. Let's say steal the mangoes from the next door neighbor. I love the Julie mangoes, and the neighbor don't want to give me any of the Julie mangoes. And this little child doesn't get proper meals. I could watch him and see he's not eating properly. I could watch him and see he doesn't have nice clothes. I could see he doesn't have a laptop. And I could see his father not at home or things. You could just look at him. He is easy pickings for me. I am very upright. I'm living in my home. And I tell him, go across next door now and bring 4 mangoes to me. And when you bring it for me, I'll give you $20. He never see a $20 in ever. The boy eyes will light up and run across there and pick the mangoes. And the helper in the, or the gardener will say, hey, little boy, get off the tree. You're stealing. Get off the tree. And beating. But you know who is the one who sent him? The nice lady sitting down in her home.
Yeah.
Nice and neat and nice and respectable. And when the little boy comes back, guess what they say? I don't know why he did that, I mean, I've spoken to him about that behavior before.
Yes.
I don't know why he did that. So what I'm trying to tell you is take the spotlight. I'm not saying they're not wrong, they are wrong, because there's a whole generation they grew up in,
Yeah.
That a whole generation you have to clean out, But understand this. You see that eater food? Eater food start from those who live in the high life, because they get in their contracts. How they get their contracts? How they live in their lifestyle? And they eating our food too?
Yeah.
Well, so stop telling me that. And they have to have their foot soldiers. So those who say that, Richard, don't play their game. Don't help them to play their game. We know they are bad. There's bad in every group. There's bad in rich. There's bad in poor. There's bad in middle class. There's good in rich, good in every group as the thing. But what you need is temptation. And when I call temptation with well, I don't want to get into religion, because I'm not. I will have a lot of problems with quoting the Bible. A lot of problems. So all I do know is know some of the stories about the temptation of even Jesus Christ from the devil up in the desert. And say, I'll give you everything and give you this whole kingdom. So if they could tempt Jesus, why they can't tempt the little boy in Lavendale?
That's right.
And who was tempting him? And it was the devil?
Yeah.
But if Jesus had given in, who are they looking at? The devil? No. The devil in the background laughing. He have nothing to do with that. It's Jesus.
Yeah, it's true.
David, I'm making sense?
Of course, I totally agree with you. I agree with you.
That's why I like you on the show,
No, but I live on the ground, I am in the ground right through. I struggle too. I try to make ends meet, and I have difficulty. It's not as difficult as for some of the people that I see around me who are really catching hell, and they don't want to say anything. They're afraid.
Pride,
I
understand.
understand what you're saying. I know
Yeah.
what's happening. I sort of suspect certain people within my area that run
Yeah.
things from behind the scenes and have all kind of crazy things happening, and nobody will blame them.
Yeah.
You know. So I know what you're talking about, and I can feel it too.
Well,
Richard?
you hear me again?
Yeah,
Let me say
Yes,
this.
and I'm not
No,
seeing any I'm not seeing any pictures behind you of the Last Supper. I am
know you
not
like to see that
seeing the
picture,
Last
Karen.
Supper behind you.
I know you like to see that picture. So the next time I'll make sure and have it up for you. Right? The Last Supper with Jesus. I know you always say you don't want to go into the Bible too much.
Yeah,
But
because
you
you
seem
don't
to
want
know
to
a lot
impose your
about it.
religion
You
on
know a
people.
lot about it. So that's
Yeah.
very nice as a convent young lady. Yeah. So, but Karen, we were talking about the same group of people. I wasn't talking about the young guys who you
Okay,
can
I'm
easily
sorry.
chain up. When I talking
Yes.
about eater food, is the professionals who using that language now, senior counsel and
Yes.
all, yeah, to eat a food.
Yeah.
They breaking any rule to
Kamala give us
get
that.
ahead.
That was a good one to come with. Everybody,
What's
it's
that?
Kamala who said that. It's Kamala who said that, you know.
About
Don't
eat
make
a
it
food?
vex because it's Kamala.
Yeah.
It's Kamala who
No,
said
no.
that when she went to Blaventel, she want to come down and be rootsy with the people. And she rootsy now. And so she want to show she's one with the people. She said everybody have to eat her food. At least that's
And
what
I
I
didn't know
remember.
she was such a good basketballer. You know, I saw her flying in, you know, they had created this basketball program. You remember that? Hoop for Life.
Yes.
And I saw Kamala Prasad in the air taking a shot. I think she had dunk a ball, not so?
Yeah.
With the assistance of Shaquille O'Neal, and he came
Yes.
down here.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
The kind
yeah.
of eat the food for them is banquets. Not no double.
So when you had a former prime minister saying that, it is the people at that level I'm talking about, and they would deny anybody. They would pursue a policy to get rid of anybody once they stand to benefit from it. And I'm saying, look at where we reach in this country today. Look where our value system has reached. I don't think we could go any lower than this. It's horrible. Long ago, you know, like in Karen's case, you would hear somebody show up, and I'm not talking about the woman. People would be working with Karen to tell her, no, take action. This is wrong, you know, and so on, and giving you all the information and pushing you forward. Today, let me tell you, talking to professionals, they have an automatic response, you know. The first response is to deny or lie, and then work themselves to the truth. Because no, I said, oh, sorry, I didn't understand it. Now we understand. They're thinking about it, and then they're now bringing themselves back to reality. But the first thing is to defend, communicate disinformation, lie, do all sorts of things because you don't want to give away something that you believe if you speak the truth, you may be giving away.
Yeah,
So everybody today is operating on dishonesty. That can't be right. It just can't be right. One other thing I want to discuss. So the country's in a terrible place. Corruption is out of control. Crime is out of control. The gun is hot. The gun is hot. It's smoking. I mean, they're killing people in this country today. Like, listen, it is easier to kill a human being than it is to catch a goner, you know, and kill it to eat.
You know, Richard. You know, Richard, I have never been a iguana lover, but up to I told my son, I have 2 trees, and on both trees, I have iguanas, you know.
And all
some of them are brown,
Yeah.
and some of them are green, and some of them are small, and they're like a little family for me. I look out my door window every day, and I tell my children, they are on the 2 trees. looking out for my iguanas.
Karen, I am very sad
So I could catch
that I had
iguanas,
to
but I would
that I
never
had
do
to
that.
encourage you. That I had to encourage you to state what you just expressed, because when you look out tomorrow,
I might not see them.
Now, you know, one little boy came there trying to get one of them, but they shoo him away. He walked on the wall. But
Yeah.
they're safe over there. I don't know where those two trees. They say if I once or twice I might see them, I get worried. And I'm telling my son who likes animals and plants and he like going in the forest with he used to do that with his grandfather. I say, Christopher, imagine your mother love iguanas now. I imagine that the iguanas come like my family. Every day I look out through my window to see where they come in and what tree they on and how they moving. And I say I have one that's brown. And if his foot doesn't fall off, you wouldn't know he's there. He's like a twig. And they have a green one with black stripes on his tail. And a little green one, bright green.
so it's really
So
a
me
whole
and
family.
my iguanas.
It's
Yeah.
a whole family picture.
Yes, I'm telling you, who knew?
Karen is
I never
speaking in
thought.
Trinidad, you know.
No, but I never thought I would bond with iguanas like that. I
Yeah.
have
Oh,
friends of
man,
mine
Karen.
afraid of iguanas, you know.
Wait,
If you know iguanas
Karen,
nearby,
my
they
child,
running, you know.
you want to get rid of those iguanas?
No!
So why are you talking about them here?
So I don't let me see you come by me, you know.
No,
Don't let anybody by me, you know.
Karen, I don't want you to forget that you're Trinidad.
Now you can be falling out one time, you know. But can I say something before I leave today's show? Because you know I'm going up for the political party leadership.
Yeah.
And so it would
No,
be
hold on,
remiss of
Karen,
me.
hold on. I told I want to give you the
What?
last 10 minutes to do that. Let me just touch on one thing before you get
You
in.
know they
We
only
still
give me
have
10 minutes.
the whole 10 minutes is yours. We have about
Counting
2.5 minutes before it's counted. Dad, you see how nice she look when she say I counted? Anyway, Karen, I wanted your comments first on the fact that England now has done, in a way, what America did with Barack Obama. What's your reaction to having an East Indian gentleman?
You mean in what? You mean in Rishi Sunak?
Yeah.
Having Rishi Sunak?
I listened to him his first speech. The guy sounded well. He sounded good.
I think they have to call a national election. Okay, so that's the end of that story. They have to call in. My daughter lives up there too, and it's a lot of uncertainty, and this uncertainty is affecting the price of the dollar. And when the dollar goes down, the price of food goes up, cost of energy goes up. And so one thing business does not like is uncertainty. And within a matter of few months, you've had a change of 3 prime ministers. That cannot be good for England, and it cannot be good for the economy, and it cannot be good for building confidence. And you know that as the change happens, so the pound starts to slide. So he might be the best of the lot, but I think the country has to go to a national election and settle this thing for once and for all. And maybe they have to have some kind of something to prevent the recurrence of this, because they're hurting themselves. You know, the dollar is nearly equivalent to the euro. I mean, at one time the dollar was $11, $12. Now it's gone right down, and it has a lot to do with businesses saying, I'm not too sure if I want to go there because I don't know. I put my money into that business, and then next thing, my business starts, value goes down overnight. Because when people put money, it's millions of pounds. So it's not good for the country.
Yeah. The part I was looking at, and you're right, all of that is true. The part I was looking
my time, eh?
Yeah, okay. No, the part is you have talking, you know, Karen. I just asking you a question. Yeah, the part I was looking at is the mindset of the white British people to put someone like this East Indian gentleman to lead their country, just as they did with Barack Obama.
Can I just say no? I'm not really surprised for one. America's history and British history is more connected to the Commonwealth and Africa, the Caribbean. And so they are, I don't think it's the same, and they do have a respect for Indians. Indians own a lot of, especially Muslims, own a lot of property.
Especially in London.
Some of the, yes, they own a lot of property. They're a very powerful group, and he was Eton educated. He was brought up very British. he hasn't got a stain against him. He doesn't drink or anything. So he's very attractive, very thing. So I think people are able to go beyond race, especially since he does not come across, obviously, of any, he's Indian and he's clearly Indian, but he doesn't come across in your face. He comes across as British and in the right way. He's very attractive and he's bright. He has no stain against him. He's charismatic. So I am not surprised. Even the racist people would vote for him. But people can, there's some people who marry outside their race but hate the race. There are people like that will marry somebody from outside their race but still hate the race. So I think with Rishi Sunak, people are tired of the up and down, tired of the thing, and they think he, out of all of them, is the best answer. But I think they need to call a national election, and if he wins, then he wins. But they need to bring some sense of they have to bring some calm and some continuity to that country, because their dollar and the economy and everything that goes with it is being affected.
Right. Thanks for your reaction.
Is that a good enough answer?
I think so, Karen. I think so. So we go to your politics.
You see, you get me
10 minutes.
I nearly forget it. Oh God, I'm going. What I'm making me laugh now.
Karen, take it.
Laugh now.
10 minutes.
Richard,
10 minutes is a lot.
Richard, my point is this: we started the show talking about the level of crime in the country, and I think we had reached during the weekend. It was 17, and I think David said 2 more had been killed since then, and a little child. So we have no question at all that this country is in the grips of criminality, of crime. And it doesn't only murder. As we all know, it's a sense of people disenchantment, disenfranchisement, alienation, a lack of trust and confidence. And that is what is surrounding the country. There are few people who don't feel it because they live in their little cocoon, but the vast majority are feeling it, and it seems as though their plight is being ignored. So where does that take me? It takes me to the party elections. I think that more than ever, people say that they want change. If they want change, you have an opportunity, because, as I've said before, and I say it again, we are a party. We are not a club that is there to play football, which might be okay to do that, or to play any sports or anything. That's not our purpose. Our purpose, like every party, is to go into national governance. And therefore, the breeding ground, the starting point of that has to happen from the party level, because it is the party that says who we are, and what we stand for. And in this case, we had that unusual opportunity to see a transition from party leadership to national governance. Normally, it's in a situation where it's opposition and everybody fighting each other, and then whoever wins the game, becomes the leader. In this case, we got an opportunity to see someone transition. And if the transition we have experienced is any indication of how the party is managing its business and getting its people ready to take over national governance, then we have failed terribly, and that is a reality. So we have to stem it from and stench the flow, the hemorrhage from at the party level, and people must never see that as being disloyal. In fact, I look at it as being extremely loyal to your party, because loyal to your party, and at the end of the day, loyal to your country, because whoever goes to the national governance no longer is the party in power, but it is the government of the people. And that starts from putting in processes that are transparent and are accountable. And we could see from this electoral process, there's much to be questioned. Why 3 days when the Article 18 says an election day? And if you want to change it, and if there's any doubt as to the meaning, you then go and have an interpretation. Why 3 days? Why stretch it from the 27th to the 9th? Why must you have the boxes? It's self-serving. Whoever is going up, these are the people, or people associated with them, will have custody of those boxes. That's why the EBC, independent, they have custody of the boxes. Why do you have custody of the boxes? Why didn't you make it a national announcement? You spend a lot of money on radio stations and other ways advertising. Why then they build a building there that must be 50 million at least? I don't know where they raise that money. Must be from those parties that hired. But I can't believe that did it. But why didn't you let people know far in advance that the 23rd of August was the cutoff date for you to register to vote? Why didn't you make that? It's the only constituency country you want to attract. You want everybody to come and join your party, because the more that join the parties, the more that will vote you into governance. So why didn't you do that? Why is it that when the preliminary list which you had, and we had to take so long to get it from you, and you had it all the time until we had to threaten pre-action protocol? Why did we have to go that way? And why is it the final list is settled in Balizé House? Who settles the list? What do they take into account? Everything I have outlined there smacks about lack of transparency, lacks of accountability, and it does not look good for the party. And if it is, and what we're seeing happening outside in the national or in our country, those are the complaints that you're hearing, then we have to start fixing the building and the foundation inside the party. Those are real concerns, and to treat it flippantly, which they seem to treat a lot of other things, to treat it flippantly, or my boys to tell you, we'll store it properly and mind your business, bring some water and mind your business. That is their attitude. To us, believe you me, that's the attitude going into governance. So if we want to change the trajectory in which this country is going hopelessly and helplessly in that direction, it has to start from with your child, and the child in our case is the party. And I want to make that clear. And people feel that you are not being disloyal. You are being loyal to your party and you're loyal to your country. And it is not about person and who you like and who you don't like. It is whether this person is willing to do the hard work to bring that transparency and accountability, and willing to stand up and be counted. That's what you want, I hope.
Yes.
Well,
I did it in 6 minutes, you know.
you still have 3 minutes, Karen.
No, but I did it now. I said it. I said what I really wanted to say in truth, though.
But I want to tell you, I agree with you. And you ask why they would do this? Why 3 days for the elections? Why when it's only, you're not sure that not even 7,000 people will come out? Why, when the Constitution say one thing, you're doing something differently? Why? Well, Karen, I'll tell you. In general, when people want to manufacture an outcome, they have to find a way to do it and hope nobody saw it, you know. That to me is what is at play. Because the PNM, our party has never done this before. All of us.
Right. So what the point is...
What 2 days for special voting is for?
And then a big hiatus between that and the 9th, where the boxes. And you know what you're saying? What you're saying? Is what you are saying is what you're seeing going on in the party is what you're seeing going on in the government. So don't pretend you don't know. You do as if they're not related. The people in the government in the party.
Yeah, and I'm telling you,
running the party.
Our party will be denied if they do this to challenge EBC or anybody after, you know, because they're going to say we in our party cannot talk after what we would have done here. This is craziness, Karen. And I'm happy that you raised it again. I want you all to speak out on it.
Every week I am going to speak on it, if you will allow me.
Speak out on it, because it is wrong. I want to repeat that. It is wrong. They can say what I want, and I'm putting it on record. If he wins under this system, I remain a PNM, but I will not recognize him as the legitimate leader of the PNM. I will not. It's a whole kind of a fake operation. So now we must have a fake leader. We must have a leader who the people don't want leading us into another election. That makes sense?
Could you imagine
that? They don't. That's why they're doing this, because they know the people don't want them. If they did not know that, it would have been one day for voting. But because they know the people don't want them, but they want to lead the people, they are saying, we are going to...
And for what purpose? Because from what you could see, they're taking us down a road of crime in this country. That people are afraid, and people are afraid to talk out.
17 murders over a weekend.
And
your minister, and you feel you are the best man to lead this country.
And the minister of nothing security said, I do not know of any Mr. Big. So I told him, let's go and speak to the granny at the corner. Anyway, I think me up before they take me off.
Yes.
I would like them to take me off.
Yeah, we
right. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Karen,
next week.
I would set the clock
Yes,
I feel
again
look
cry.
forward to that.
Monday.
Okay, cry. Stop crying. I know Daddy Mark ready crying, not you. I'm gone.
I did not I'm crying, you know, I'm crying.
Ruben, no. Bye-bye, Ruben. And Melissa.
Yes.
And Daddy Mark.
Yes, Karen.
And of course, Richard. Richard, you know.
You know I love you too, Karen. Until Monday. Take it easy.
Okay, straight ahead we have the news, people.
The future of talk is here. Power 102 Digital.